This is the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Ever wish you could re-listen to your favorite interview or segment? Do you enjoy hearing older shows for the first time in years? Then the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less is just what you need. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. John Solberg here, your host for the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. And I'm very happy to tell you that this show is brought to you by Green Mountain Grills. For 17 years, Green Mountain Grills has brought the smoke to the competition scene and the backyard all over the world. Their Venturi-style firebox delivers the cleanest 150-degree smoke in the pellet game. Their new redesigned 2025 Prime 2.0 grills blend the proven technology of the past with the technology of the future. Green Mountain Grills is the original innovator of all things Wi-Fi and continues to give their users granular options to control your grill in any environment from anywhere. Green Mountain Grill also leads the pack in accessory creation, from their pizza attachment that delivers pizza in 2 minutes to rotisseries to add-on side burners. Check all this out and check out the new 2.0 Green Mountain Grills at greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. Today we're taking a jump back to 2015, and before Doug Scheiding was an embedded correspondent, he was on a show.
Folks, as I said, this past weekend, a rather large barbecue contest took place in Houston, Texas. One of the many look to enter and win during the course of a competition career. My next guest tonight won it this past weekend and has the belt buckled to prove it. Here to recap the event, the win, the pitmaster of Rogue Cookers, Doug Scheiding, joining me here on the show. Doug, how are you, bud?
I'm doing fine, Greg. How are you?
Doing absolutely fabulous, Doug. Appreciate you making time for the show tonight. I know I kind of caught you on the road, and you might be pulled over for safety reasons, so I appreciate you carving out some time to talk about this past weekend and the Texas Livestock and Rodeo Barbecue Cook-Off. Doug, before we get into that, maybe a little background about yourself and how you got into the competition barbecue world.
Well, actually, I might lose a few points on my man card, but I watched the Food Network show, and I like the chef Aaron McCargo, and he had a recipe with using Coke and to break down his ribs, and so that got me interested in actually cooking, because my motto used to be, before I got into barbecue, if it took longer to make than eat, it wasn't worth the time, and obviously I've gone all the other way, so got into kind of cooking that way, and one of my neighbors asked me to cook a charity event, and saw a barbecue show on TV happen to that weekend, and decided to go ahead and try this competition barbecue thing out.
Doug, you said when we were kind of corresponding back and forth, I don't know if you were with another team before or not, but you went off your own about a year and a half ago and formed Rogue Cookers. Of course, I'm always endlessly fascinated by team names. How did you come up with that one? Was there a huge argument and you decided to go rogue on your own and that's where it is, or is it not necessarily as cool as that?
Well, it's kind of that way. I cooked with Flameworthy Barbecue, and Clint Swindoll was my partner, and we're both Type A personalities. We cooked for about 4 years together, and I'm actually an engineer by education and job for about 20 years, and we always like to improve things, and so I was always tweaking things, or as he said, making rogue decisions, and so decided to break off and go on my own. And my wife said, "Well, that's your team name, Rogue Cookers."
Well, I like that story even better than the one that I said, for crying out loud. That's great. Rarely do they have such great backstories, but this one lives up to it for sure. So do you guys kind of look to match up against each other weekend in, weekend out, or is it still kind of friendly rivalry, or how does that work out?
Oh yeah, it's pretty friendly, but yeah, we're always doing rooting for each other and hoping the other one does well. So we see each other on several competitions each year.
Doug Scheiding joining me here on the show, pitmaster of Rogue Cookers. Doug, if you could, as we kind of transition over to the recap of the event this past weekend,
Sure.
But for the folks that don't know, I mean, obviously, if you listen to the show, there is a lot of bit of KCBS stuff and Florida Barbecue Association. We get a little MBN stuff here and there. Very small amount of IBCA. What's the Houston Livestock and Rodeo event like? How does the barbecue event fit into this whole thing? And kind of give us the format of how it scored to get an overall champion.
Okay, sure. Yeah, actually, I think maybe I'm mistaken on this. It's not a sanctioned event, so it's not run like typical Texas barbecue cook-offs. And that's part of the issue with Texas is we've got so many organizations that have kind of splintered off. We've got IBCA and Texas Gulf Coast and Lone Star Barbecue Society, but it's a unique competition because typically in Texas you have chicken ribs and brisket, and you get points for finishing only in the top 10. And if you finish 11th through 100, you don't get any points, and that just doesn't count. So the Houston Rodeo, what they do is they have so many entries. It's like 412 this year, so it was the largest ever. You have to pick a category: chicken, ribs, or brisket. Unless you're like a champion, like Darren was from the Jack, you get to pick all three. But so I actually chose chicken this year, and what they do is they have a first turn-in, and they only have a single round, kind of like the KCBS scoring, where you're judged on that single table, and they pick the top 8 from each category: chicken, ribs, and brisket. And so this year there were only 92 chicken entries, so we finished in the top 8, obviously, and there were another 8 rib, and then another 8 brisket. And so then they have a second turn-in, which you actually have to kind of cook for in anticipation of making the finals. And then from those 24, they have another round of judging, and it starts over, and then they rank those 24 within each category, but then overall competing against each other.
Wow, it sounds incredibly intense. So for everybody that is... So you have to pick one meat, and that's the one you're going with. You're bringing to the dance, and then you're going to cook it twice, and you turn it in the first time, and then everybody out of those 412 teams starts cooking again in hopes that they get the call as they're cooking. What about all those other teams that got to shut it down after they've been told they haven't made the final? That's kind of a kick in the balls, isn't it?
Is that a kick in the balls? I don't know. Find out what Doug had to say about the kick in the balls over at the BBQCentralShow.com. While you're over there, look around, look through some past episodes, find a show. Maybe you want me to cut one up for you. I'm pretty sure this was Doug's first time on the Barbecue Central Show, but it certainly would not be the last. He is a much respected, longest running, embedded correspondent from the great state of Texas. Go over there and check out this show. You know, you want to get a hold of me, it's easy. John, Jon, John at the BBQCentralShow.com. I will do whatever I can for you to get you a show you want to hear. And until next time on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, John Solberg. I look forward to talking to you again soon.